You're watching BBC World News.
Worklife India is sponsored by Nexon EV. Cry the lightning.
Hello, namaste, and welcome to Delhi. I'm Devina, and this is Worklife India on the BBC, the show that looks at all things to do with money, the work we do, and the lives we lead. Now, India is a land of many majestic birds and animals, but rapid urbanization and deforestation are threatening many of them. As India hosts a major conference on the Convention of Migratory Wild Animals and Birds, we're asking how to save India's vanishing species. Now, the Asian elephant, the great Indian bustard, and the Bengal florican were added to the list of endangered birds and animals at the 13th meeting of the Conference of Parties to the Convention on Migratory Species just this week. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. Nearly 100 bird species are at high risk of extinction in India alone. To talk about it all, we have with us Latika Nath, who is a wildlife photographer and a biologist with interesting stories to share. And welcome, Latika.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here.
Latika, you won't scare us with your stories on scorpions and snakes, but help us bust a lot of myths about wildlife and wild animals.
I shall try.
All right. Well, we also have with us Ramesh Krishnamurthy, who works at the Wildlife Institute of India. He's extensively worked with different policymakers. Welcome, Ramesh.
Thank you so much. It's really great to be here.
Well, 25 years of your journey, Ramesh, and looking back at it, what made you switch your careers?
No, I have not switched my career. I've been in the wildlife field ever since I finished my master's. I think I come from a very rural background. I studied in one of the remotest area in Tamil Nadu. It's like this college called AVC College.
In southern India.
Southern India, but then landing at Wildlife Institute and being here, I think it's a privilege for me.
Okay, so my next guest is Aparna Rajgopalan, who has switched her career from being a lawyer to turning into a wildlife conservationist and now is the chairperson of Wildlife SOS. It's the organization you ring if you find a wild animal in your home, at least in Delhi. Welcome, Aparna.
Thank you. Welcome. Thanks for calling me here. Yeah.
Well, Aparna, but before that, tell me, what's the weirdest call that you have received?
I think we've got many weird calls. Pythons in the Taj Mahal, civet cat in Parliament, Nilgai on Rajpath. So, yeah, you get some really weird, a leopard in a school in Bangalore.
Oh my God, so, and let's talk all about that. But pythons in Taj Mahal, oh my God. I think it requires certain kind of courage to do what you guys are doing, and Latika, especially for you, because in your profession of wildlife photography, one of your most memorable photographs is of a puma. Can you tell us about that? And when you took that photograph, you were just about 3 feet away from it.
Yes, it's the most incredible experience. I was in Chile recently, and I went there to meet and study puma. And I didn't realize that you could get quite so close to them. And we would leave early morning before dawn broke. And we would drive out into this absolutely rugged, barren terrain and get out and walk straight up mountains. And it was very cold, minus 15 on some days.
Oh, my God.
And I met 17 puma, 16 of which were really friendly. And this particular one walked right up to me and sort of almost checked me out to say,
hey,
what are you doing here? You're
Oh
a long way from home. So it was quite an experience.
You weren't scared at all?
No.
Oh my God. And Ramesh, tell me your experience. You actually work in sub-zero temperatures, and you are also working with wildlife animals. You've had certain similar experiences?
I would rather start by saying that I think the forest area is much more safer to be than the places with the human. Therefore, nothing to be scared in the forest.
Roads with crazy traffic.
So I would say that,
yes.
see, I think animals generally give you warning, even if they want to attack you. So therefore, you are much more safer. Therefore, from that aspect, I think we are an excellent place to be working. We are privileged people. In fact, we feel it's really a privilege to be in the forest working for animals. So I come from down south, it's a hot temperature. I worked in the mountain with, as you said, sub-zero temperature. It's been an excellent journey. I think each place offers a lot of interesting things in terms of the animals, in terms of the place, in terms of the people. I think India, as you know, it's excellent diversity both in terms of the landscapes and the people.
Being one of the major hotspots of biodiversity. But Aparna, tell us that the three species that we talked about in the beginning of the show, the Asian elephant, Bengal florican, and the great Indian bustard, which are now on the endangered list for the United Nations body for CMS, the Convention of Migratory Species. But why is it important for us to talk about them? Why is it important for us to save them?
Increasingly we can see that lots of species are vanishing. They're vanishing really fast, both habitat and the animals. So I think we need to talk about them because everything that we are doing today in terms of development, in the terms of infrastructure, the kind of railways or roadways or expressways or anything that we are building today, it's growing so rapidly that habitat and animals are vanishing at a really fast rate. So we have to talk about this. It's actually an emergency, in my opinion, because with vanishing habitats comes extinction.
Absolutely. And also vanishing habitats means that, like you earlier mentioned, you'll have certain species like snakes or even spotting of big cats in cities because we've actually taken the habitat which was earlier the jungle.
There's a conflict
There's
now.
a conflict of human and wildlife, but has it gone up in the recent years?
It has, because urban areas have expanded into rural areas. There's a merge between urban and rural areas in many places. Forest areas are being fragmented. We aren't building enough corridors for them to cross from one area to the other. They cannot migrate. And also, when we talk of development, we are always talking about development. Should it be development or should it be environment? I don't think that debate.
But India is a developing economy. Yes. We do have housing needs for our rising population. Where do we balance it, Ramesh?
This is what recently I like to quote Jane Goodall when she said, don't blame the human population growth, blame it on the disproportionate wealth distribution. I think when it comes to the development, it is not about the development as a whole, where we develop. I think there's so much of exploitation of natural resources. Naturally, when you're trying to expand, it happens. But I think it is a kind of a policy issue on level. Second is, I personally believe that conservation is global responsibility and the global benefit.
We think we are on the top of the... It's also because we think we are the most important species.
We are on top of the food chain. But Latika, do we also need to see this entire conversation in a cultural context? In India, for example, we do have also animal worshipping culture. We have tribes which have forever existed with so many wildlife species.
Absolutely, Divina. And don't forget, we've got sacred forests. We've got lakes that are sacred, rivers which are sacred. We've been brought up to respect nature. And I think the first god we worshipped was Mother Nature. So it's something that's a part of us genetically even. And I think all Indians will relate to it regardless of caste, creed, religion, or area of the country.
Yes, Aparna.
I think she's so right, because it's not even just India. I think it's to do with any civilization. Any ancient civilization around the world worship nature.
So it's not about worship, and also from the kind of the preservation, the sustainable lifestyle that India had. Probably, I think that is how we've been able to maintain this kind of diversity that we have. See, one of the...
Are we maintaining that diversity? Because the other flip side of this argument also is, look at the way, Aparna, your organization works with snake charmers. They work with monkey dancers and troops, which actually hold monkeys, kalandars, which are the bear dancer. Can you tell us a little bit about them as well? Because that's the other side of it, that animals being used to earn livelihood by people.
Yes. So this is one of our most beautiful projects. This project was started because we came across dancing bears being danced, especially if you went 20 years ago, if you went towards Agra near the Taj Mahal. All along the way towards Fatehpur Sikri, you would see bears being danced on the sides of the road, and a lot of tourists stopping to watch them dance and
pay them money.
And pay money. That when we saw the condition of those bears that this project actually originated, the bears, this was a relevant kind of entertainment in the Mughal era. That's when this kind of was patronized by the Mughals, and gradually with time, with the kind of media and entertainment we have today, they began to get irrelevant. But that community, the Kalandar community itself, is a nomadic tribe. They are poor and they don't know or have an alternate vocation. So we realized that if you took away the bear from them, they would just go back and get another bear from the forest through the poachers. So we saw this as a great opportunity to rehabilitate not just the animal, but also the person or the tribe or the
Yes,
group
yes, that's been seen as one of the pilot projects. Yes, Ramesh, you have a point too.
No, I was just saying that I think it's a very important point what she made. It's when we talk about conservation, we'll always try to say solution, or make an awareness and things like that. Unless you get into the bottom of things, why people are doing this, if you don't address the livelihood problem or even aspirations. So it's not just only livelihood, even I want to become richer. So that is also an aspiration that genuinely need to be looked into. So unless you go into this kind of an economic solution, wildlife conservation will not be a only lip service.
But Latika, you actually have a very interesting model that you tried in central India at Kana Reserve Park as well, where you worked with locals. How responsive are they to the idea of coexisting and working for looking at alternative livelihood and looking at something like wildlife tourism, which can help them also generate more revenue?
I think people are very open to new ideas. It's not just central India. I think all over the world, and especially in many places in India, we've seen how tourism and perceptible economic benefit can turn perceptions around about wildlife, from being a threat to being an asset, and something that they would want to keep around them. And I think a case in point is what is happening with snow leopards. It's happened with birds in several regions. Now the leopard conservation status in and around Bera in Rajasthan.
Which is Western India?
Yes, which is Western India. There's a whole lot of bird areas where people have really come forward to help with bird conservation because they benefit from photography and guano enriching the fields. So I think it's just a matter of earning the trust of the people and being able to introduce them to an idea and showing them by example.
Well, Ramesh, I know you want to say something. Go ahead, yes.
I just wanted to actually kind of put certain things in perspective. See, when we talk about this wildlife conservation issues, one of the fundamental things that we need to keep in mind is we need to maintain the common species common. So mostly what we are doing is we are firefighting because we don't have that kind of luxury maybe, or we are focused mostly on the endangered species or rare species. So while we are spending so much money and energy and we're losing out common species and they also become rare. So I think we need to have a really
Which
clear...
is actually a very important point, because why to wait till the 11th hour?
Exactly.
Why not start now? And exactly for that, I want to actually take you through this amazing story. Out of the 3 Indian species on the global list for the international protection under the UN Convention, 2 are birds. A recent study by eBird, a biodiversity-related citizen science project, found that the Indian bird population is in severe decline. So what can be done? I met bird conservationist Nin Taneja in Delhi to find out. A rare sound in the congested residential area in Delhi. As the population of birds declines, these calls are getting fewer in the city. Rapid urbanization is threatening their natural habitat. And 51-year-old Nin Taneja is trying to do her bit to save them. She has invested in a bird corner at her home.
Flowers to attract the birds, the sunbirds. There's some fruit feeders, some grains.
There are wooden nest boxes to shelter them, and she even keeps fruits like papaya to attract birds.
So my love for birds started basically when about 6-7 years back, and it was like I wanted to de-stress over some issues that I was going through, and I would sit in my balcony for hours just looking outside, and then little by little I started observing the birds coming in. I would put fresh water for them every day. They put a whole lot of a meaning in my artwork and my life. Like this. Chirping.
For Nin's regular bird class with children, where she takes a quiz and a painting session to help them understand the importance of birds in the ecosystem. 10-year-old Kunal is excited to learn more and tells me why he wants to save his favorite bird.
My most favorite bird is like the Oriental white-eye. I like it because it's very small and cute, and it has a white patch on its eye. We should save birds because they bring balance in nature, and they also deserve to live lives like us.
But this is a small step. According to a recent study, nearly 100 bird species are at high risk in India alone. And effective conservation policies are needed before they vanish from our memories too. So we need them. We need them in this world. We need them to coexist with us. Latika, what's been your experience about the Gen Next? Are they also very excited to talk about wildlife, or are they also saying, oh, we haven't, like this boy that I met, he said that it's been a while that I've seen a sparrow, and the only way he knows about a sparrow is because he's seen a picture.
Yeah, Divina, it's a strange mix. I have one section of the youth who are very aware of what is happening, and I have another section that's so interested only in technology and city life that they have an absolute disconnect from what is happening in nature.
Latika, I think
Yes,
I need to say this, because now if you look at the kind of trend that we have, even in the forest service and department, a lot of young people are coming with good qualification.
Yes.
So therefore, I think the technology is going to be the right situation now. Earlier on, maybe even if the technology was there, it was not getting integrated. Now there is an opportunity. Therefore, I mean, as you rightly said, there are kind of people who have been wanting to be in the field, others who would like to use the technology. I think we are in a good position.
So, well, let me also add on this. The study which has been done by eBird is actually an app-based study. If you spot a bird, just put it in, and that's how it's sort of a citizen database. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
I also think, this is my take, I think, a lot of people want to do a lot of things. And there are a lot of people who want to help. But many people don't know how. Because they don't have a lot of awareness about it. And two, maybe they don't have a support group.
Sure. But as Ramesh said about technology, I think one of your campaigns also is about spreading awareness about elephants. Now, elephants have a very different place in Indian society. In Hindu religion, they're worshipped. They also have this image of being royal and part of a grand festival. So on weddings or important functions, you'll see elephants, and people would like to ride them. But social media has played a key role, hasn't it, for your organization, especially in Western India, to raise a campaign about not to ride them. If people say no, we can say
Go ahead about we have this campaign called Refuse to Ride. This is especially true even in big places like forts, which is where this kind of campaign originated, because you have elephants walking up the fort the whole day carrying tourists. And so we wanted to bring across, the awareness to tell people that don't ride these elephants. Refuse to ride them. Just kill the business, because these elephants were really going through, so much of torture. There is also the snakes. Similarly, we have a snake campaign in Delhi, where we have a round-the-clock helpline. This helpline has been really great, because the number of people who now call us round the clock, we get calls up to 100 snake calls in one monsoon season.
But what happens after you capture the snake? I mean, how do you ensure that you're able to safely leave the snake back in the forest where it doesn't disturb the human population and is not also under threat?
So we have a wonderful team of veterinarians and handlers who are, many of them, rehabilitated from the very community which abuses them. Like the Madaris or the Kalandars. We have
people who used to capture them earlier to earn a living, and
because we found that they can handle them so well. They already know the animals.
So that could be perhaps one solution. But Ramesh, you were earlier talking about technology as well, and one of the pet projects in India, and Latika has been talking about this as well, is the tiger project. We've seen the number of tiger now at 3,000 according to the latest official data, and significantly up from a point where they were dwindling. How has technology been used in that project to protect
Before
this?
that, I would like to take it from what she said about this and then connect to the eBird.
Sure.
I was fortunate to be in that particular meeting in COP. So when they talked about, initially it was just when you talked about how do we kind of make people aware. I think this is a one way you can bring citizens to contribute and kind of institutionalize it. I think one of the biggest problem is how do you make people aware, and how do you bring information together? So that is where technology comes in. The eBird is nothing but a combination of field level data collection and technology.
Yes.
So people have been able to put together.
Yes.
So even if you look at the State of Bird report that they published, they've been able to kind of demonstrate how the decline has taken place.
Absolutely.
And talking about tiger, I think tiger research, I think Latika started. In fact, I still remember as a researcher when I came to Wildlife Institute, she was showing this camera trap picture first time. So I think we started with the camera trap and telemetry. Now the telemetry and camera trap become very, very important tool in terms of tiger management. Now recently the government has also come up with the National Tiger Conservation Authority and Wildlife Institute to come up with the software MSTI, which is basically a monitoring tool. I think there's multiple technologies come. In fact, I myself will be involved in one of our projects along with the National Tiger Conservation Authority. Is about implementing the surveillance tool through drone.
Drone surveillance
so that's
tool
also
and
been
heat
happening.
mapping. But Latika, tell me one thing. You were the pioneer to say in India with first sort of research project in tigers. But where do you see our policies not being effective? Where do we need to do more?
I think the sad thing in India is that wildlife conservation is not an absolutely integral part of every development plan. We have some basic clearances that we feel that we have to get for a plan, but we don't think of it in the long term as something that's an integral component of the plan. And that's where we fall short. We have all the rules, we have all the legislation, we have all the will to, have all of this, but we just fall back on that. And I think a case in point would be, like I was talking about earlier, in Delhi, if you have a crowded crossing, you would make an elevated road over it. If you did the same elevated road for every road that entered a protected area or a key forest area, you would save so many animal deaths because animals cross roads and there are road kills. But we never think about this. We think about mitigation strategies when the road kills begin to happen.
Absolutely. So Ramesh, according to you, what could be some solutions? You also deal with policymakers on a regular basis. You've seen the Wildlife Protection Act in India in 1972, where the national bird peacock, at least the numbers have gone up because of the strong act and strong deterrent against killing of peacocks. Where do you think we can help the other animals before, as you said, from common they become extinct?
Sometimes the number increasing could also be a negative sign. It's not always the population increase is a good sign. Sometimes when a habitat is getting kind of suboptimal, then you can have higher concentration. That's also one of the... It's not always
absolutely, because 5% is the only conservation area right now in India for...
That's what people are looking at it, but I think if you look at the forest area, we have a lot more. So even if you look at the recent count, what the tiger number that you talked about, so we're talking about 8,000-9,000 square kilometers, what area they have been able to see. But coming back to the kind of solution, what Latika was also saying about the plan, I would like to make it more clear. I think India probably needs a land use policy which could be implemented. So having a policy is one thing and implementing another thing, but obviously India has been an excellent country in terms of bringing the concept. I would say that if you look at the globally, I would say globally, if you compare with Europe and things like that, India has done quite well. In fact, I keep telling to my colleagues and some others, even for the managers, if somebody can manage wildlife or manage conservation in India, they can manage anywhere in the world.
Yes, Aparna. Last word to you then. Okay, Latika, you and then Aparna.
You have to remember that wildlife doesn't just live in the 5%.
Exactly.
We have wildlife all over the country, and every day in our lives we'll see something connected.
Absolutely. Aparna, and that's what you witness on a daily basis, 5 calls a day. Yeah, so quickly a solution.
So I think prevention is better than cure, and it applies to this as well. We have great laws, but the enforcement and implementation of these laws are to be really improved. Awareness and sensitization of the public, demand of wildlife, the wildlife articles. We need to address where this demand is coming from.
Absolutely. So more awareness.
And also, I think we often forget that wildlife is not just the big cats, the bears, the tigers.
Absolutely.
I think the wildlife begins with the bees.
Bees. So what is that?
I think therefore chemical farming is the first thing we should ban.
So string of reasons, and we need to act now. Thank you all so much. I'm completely out of time, but thank you for joining us. Only when our world is together can we survive and thrive. Thank you for joining us on this conversation.
Worklife India is sponsored by Nexon EV. Cry the lightning.